it made me wonder, are they asking ChatGPT sensitive questions that I would rather they ask me? If you haven't been a friend for 10 years and then all of a sudden you want to be their most personal, intimate friend about something that they're embarrassed about, that's a big wall to climb. By now, we've all spent way too much time thinking about AI, whether we want to or not. While we can all agree that this is a revolution in technology, and there's no question about that, but how much it would change things is really hard to predict at this point. That doesn't stop people from joining into the hype though, right? I mean, even things completely unrelated to technology seem to have AI in the name now, and they're all trying to cash in on this new thing. But the concern that I have is twofold, actually. The first one related to my children and my family in general, and the second one being my future on the internet. Because I don't know how much you think about this, but as a person who is regularly posting their image, their likeness, if you will, my voice, all of this stuff is being documented essentially permanently on the internet. Once you post something, you don't really have an effective way of deleting it. You know, it's already been copied to millions of computers. People can rip your content and repost it, and there's just no way once you've thrown it out into the masses to pull it back. And that includes companies that are scraping the internet for data, because all these companies are hungry now, right? They all want more and more data. They've pretty much already vacuumed up all the text, and a very obvious next place to go would be voice and video. And that's put quite a bit of strain on me thinking about what content I want to post in the future, especially with this channel, much less with my more mechanical oriented stuff, because over there, I feel like it feels like more like just the facts, right? You know, this stuff is true whether you watch it on my channel or on someone else's. And many of you enjoy watching me work through these mechanical problems and talk about engineering. But with the fatherhood stuff, it's just more sensitive, you know? I have to think more carefully about what content I want to be available, especially stuff that's very personal. How much of that do I want to be scraped by AI, possibly used in ways I could never predict? Because I have no idea how this data that I post online will be used in the future. And I don't just mean like somebody faking my likeness or faking my voice, which would obviously be really bad if you could make me say something I didn't intend to say. But even how the things that these programs learn about me through the things I say, how that data can also be used in the future. And so if I'm totally honest, that has really hindered me with the production of this YouTube channel. And that's why it's been 150 days since my last video, checking here a few minutes ago, because every time I sit down to record something, I start thinking, do I want this to be, cut up and reused and analyzed for purposes I can't even fully conceive? That's a lot to take in. There just frankly aren't any tools available yet to protect digital content like this from being used. We just haven't figured it out yet. It's too new, and that's fine. In the meantime, we'll all have our concerns. I decided more recently I didn't want to let that hinder my ability to reach out to the fathers of this generation. You can't let fear keep you from living your life. And also mothers or anyone who wants to watch this stuff, because I plan to talk about more than just fatherhood here. If you've been watching, you know that I occasionally talk about other stuff. Yeah, so that's been my concern with AI, and I just wanted to put that out there. I kind of wanted you to have a better sense of some of my feelings about what it's like to try to make content and you have no idea how that content will be used in the future. Related to that, I did want to say, just in my humble opinion, you can take or leave this advice, I would not trust the government to give me a job. This development of AI and its potential to change the job landscape, whether that helps you or hurts you, is far more rapid than the legislative process. Again, just my personal advice, rather than putting your hope in man that he will save you and that your threat of changing your vote will somehow get you the job you want, I would suggest you start thinking about actions that you can take to protect your livelihood and your family. Because at the end of the day, your opinion and your actions matter far more than some legislator who may or may not know who you are. It's not that I don't think the government wants this to work, but like I said, the process is far too slow for you to count on that in the short term. My humble opinion and suggestion is that you take action. Having said that, I don't want to trivialize the scale of the problem. If you are 50 years old and you've been perfecting this skill for the last 30 years, this is the thing that you're good at, and to have someone look at you and say, just get another job, that's not only offensive, but that's really hard to swallow, and that is not what I'm saying. You shouldn't be hearing me say, just get another job. What you should be hearing me say is, boy, that really sucks. And man, you might not have a choice. That's what I'm saying. I hope you're hearing the heart of what I'm trying to say and not just the words that are coming out. Should there come a day that this changes the way my work is done or completely removes the need for the type of work that I do, I'll be thinking about what other work I can do, because that's what I can control. I hope you do the same. And I also mentioned that I'm concerned about AI related to my children. So why is that? Well, I was watching some YouTube video, I don't even remember which one it was, but they mentioned a statistic that I was able to look up and verify. And it basically said that after the release of ChatGPT and some of the other chat engines, AI engines that have been made available online, there's been a significant reduction in the number of questions being posted on forums. And this is across all types of forums, but especially expert forums where people might ask engineering related questions or whatever. And that's because they're asking ChatGPT first. And if they get the answer that they want, then, they don't post it on a forum. And that's understandable, right? One of them is much faster and can give you a pretty clear answer, even though we know that it can lie to you and hallucinate and all that stuff. It's still surprisingly good for what it is. As long as you're aware that you should be suspicious of anything it tells you, it can certainly put you on the right trail to find the answers on your own, even if it's just knowing the right vocabulary, right? Because sometimes that's why you can't find the answer. You don't quite know what the thing you're looking for is called. But I would argue that even more importantly than that, it feels private, right? It's not private, but you don't have this sense of putting all your questions out in the public square. If it's something embarrassing, you don't want to feel like I'm asking a stupid question, right? You definitely get laughed at and ridiculed on forums when you ask certain questions. People will make fun of you. You can avoid that and ask any sort of sensitive question privately when you're using ChatGPT. Thinking about this idea that people are asking less questions, it made me wonder if my children, especially the older ones who are more internet savvy, are they asking ChatGPT sensitive questions that I would rather they ask me? I think that probably gets worse the less connected the parent is to their child, right? The more remote, the more difficult you are to get a hold of, it seems like that increases the likeliness that they will turn to the internet and some stranger in another place, or worse, a computer that can hallucinate for their answers about life's most sensitive questions. That's really the main reason I wanted to post this video, is because I wanted you to think about that. I want you to think about, are your children coming to you with the things that you want them to come to you with? And especially those more embarrassing questions that are really hard to ask anyway. And there's no feeling that the computer will judge you if you ask the computer. Maybe you want to think about that and talk to your kids about it. My hope is that they will always feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me about these kinds of things. And also keep in mind, you shouldn't wait for them to come to you every time, because it just won't happen nearly enough if you don't instigate it and walk in there and talk to them yourself. And I don't mean waiting for only when something bad happens, because that's often when we're most motivated, right? If you see something alarming that they're heading down the wrong trail and you're really motivated now and you run in there, that's not the time to build that relationship. It's much better if you have more peaceful conversations first. You spend time talking about the basic stuff, That makes it easier to talk about the more difficult stuff later. If you haven't been a friend for 10 years and then all of a sudden you want to be their most personal, intimate friend about something that they're embarrassed about, that's a big wall to climb. But if you've been talking to them regularly and you built up that relationship where they feel comfortable talking to you, it's not unusual for you to be in their room talking about their life. It's not that hard to go a little bit further and talk about something that's less comfortable. I've talked about this in previous videos before. One of the things that I do with all of my children, but more recently with my oldest son, I just walk into his room and we just start talking. And because he's interested in technology and engineering like I am, we have lots of things we can talk about. But my other kids they're different. They have different interests that don't perfectly align with all of my interests. But when I'm talking with them, I try to do something similar, right? I want to be engaged with what they're interested in. If you're looking for discussion topics to have with your children, maybe you should use ChatGPT to come up with some discussion ideas. Sorry, couldn't help myself. I do actually use ChatGPT occasionally to practice Chinese as a foreign language that I've been practicing and working on. And it's not very good right now. It's primarily optimized for Q&A. And so very often, even if you've developed what I consider to be a pretty good prompt that we're going to be having this conversation, it very quickly turns back to what else can I help you with, and how can I be more helpful, and what questions do you have? And that's just the way it's designed right now. But I can foresee in the not too distant future, or even probably under development right now, many chatbots designed specifically for language learning and for conversation where the bot pretends to be a person. So I also think that in the future, there'll be a time where probably we're getting close to that now, where almost all of our communication online will be at least first with the bot, right? You think about every website you go to, the chat pops up in the corner and you're interacting with an automated service first before you actually get to talk to a person. I bring this up because I feel like it's going to eventually skew the way we think about interacting with other people. This bot has been specifically trained and is not capable of not being friendly. You know what I mean? Like it's designed to be agreeable and friendly in all situations. And we know that humans aren't like that. Even if you try to hire the friendliest person, you can't completely remove the idea that they're going to have a bad day occasionally and they might not be friendly to a customer or whatever. But also that in general, disagreement is normal. That's another thing that concerns me related to my children, is if they're going to be spending a lot of their time interacting with bots that are always nice and agreeable, that they might lose that skill of learning how to handle disagreement. And adults, and especially children, need to occasionally have someone disagree with them, and we learn how to manage conflict resolution. So these are the kinds of things that I think are worth bringing up with your kids and then talking to them about, or even just thinking about, because I don't have the right answer, and you won't have the answer either when you go to talk to them. Even just thinking about it, in my opinion, can just sort of make you aware that you might be completely surprised when someone disagrees with you, when that's actually perfectly normal, because you're just so used to the echo chamber that the internet creates, where it's only showing you content that you like and only speaking to you in a way that's agreeable and friendly, and that you're great, you're awesome, and you're perfect, and there's nothing wrong with you, and I love your opinion. And we know that that's not really the case when it's people to people, right? So just something that I think we should be thinking about, even though we don't have the answers. You won't ever get the answers if you don't consider that this is a real repercussion that's in development right now. Whew, okay. Felt good to say that out loud. All right, go be a dad.